Hey y'all, so today we're gonna make a new wallet. Just currently gonna work on making the pattern for it. Figured I'd show you guys the process of that. So I have an idea. I'm gonna use this as the singular card template. That's gonna go right on the front, but it's gonna be, I don't know, a little bit different than this guy, but I think I'm gonna keep this width. I feel this is kind of a good width for holding the stuff. So yeah, why don't you guys follow along? I'll kind of talk at you when there's some information that I feel is important, and yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have, okay, so what we have here is, this is going to be the panels that it's all made up out of. You can see I got a couple different lines, just trying to figure out what I was really wanting size-wise. You can see I got some room on the bottom. I could probably shrink this up a little bit if I wanted to, but what's gonna happen is we're gonna have 3 pockets. So we're gonna have 2, 4, 5 of this size, and then the back panel is actually gonna be one piece that's gonna fold over, and I'm gonna have 2 snaps. So I will have a couple card slots right there, and then some little money slots, receipt slots, whatever. And then we're gonna have our one main one out on the front, just like so. So I was just trying to figure out what size I was actually going for. This here is 6 inches. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to probably start laying it out on the leather, and I'll start cutting my leather panels before I figure out my outside piece. So as far as cutting this goes, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the tops, get the tops exactly how I want them. Then I'm gonna leave them a little bit wide on each side, and I'm going to leave the bottom a little bit long. What that's gonna allow me to do is be able to get all of my coats nice with each and every one of them, and then I can trim everything else to fit. Then that way there, I know all my sides are all straight and all my curves are all the same. Now, as far as this one here goes, it doesn't have to line up with anything, so we're just going to cut it to size. And what we're going to do is we're going to line all the tops up. Like I said, left them a little bit long, so we line up all the tops. Make sure those look good. And then the back one is going to go like this. And then this piece here that I haven't trimmed down yet is going to sew onto the back side. So onto the back side and then flip over 2 snaps. And this guy is just going to sit on there like that. And that'll be for your main card, whatever you want. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take all this stuff because this is the thickness that I'm going to need it. Take this, like that. Sure, it's a little bit big. Yeah, what we can do, I'm gonna start dyeing all this stuff, and I'm gonna trim this down a little bit and just get it a little bit closer to the right size. We'll dye it all, and then I'll start gluing and start sewing.
I'll blend in. I want a little bit of a contrast on it. So I'm gonna cut this to 6 inches. Just gonna take this. I'm actually going to line this up because it has a nice straight edge. I'm gonna line this up down here. Line my ruler up.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this card up. And then I'm going to rough it up a little bit. We're going to do that to all of them because what's going to end up happening, well, all minus 1, I guess, because this is going to be the outside. This is going to be our pocket that gets sewn on like that, and then it's going to go like this and like that. Then this and that, so that all of the good pieces of leather will kind of fold out as they move. So this one here is done. This one here is done. This one won't get anything done to it until all it's going to get done is that. And then once I sew all of these pieces together, then I'll come in and I'll glue my end on. I'll glue both ends on, and then we'll trim it all at once. what I am gonna do is I'm going to trim this one entirely, just to size. Only this one though, and then that will give me the reference for the rest of it to be able to fit. So we're gonna glue this one up here. I'm just going to do all of my edges before I start gluing all this stuff up. So we're gonna take Tokonol. Just gonna give myself a little bit right here. So when I lay out my stitch pattern, or when I lay out how much thread I'm gonna need, I go around the perimeter of how much or where I'm stitching, and then I times it by 4. And then I will add a little bit. Don't really need to add all that much for this piece. Actually, really for this project, because it's all just going to be 2 layers being sewn together. The more you sew together, if you're doing like 3 or 4 layers, then you need to add more. But for this much, it's I don't need all that much. And then I'll always try to end my stitches on the back side or the inside of whatever the project is that I'm working on. It just hides it. Then you got a nice clean on the front. Just a couple little melted pieces of thread on the back side here. Just right there. We got the rough shape in this here. So what I'm gonna do is Now we're just gonna focus on, we're gonna radius these corners. Something stuck to my hand there. We're gonna radius these corners, then dress the edges. I will finish the dyeing of all of the exposed edges, and then finish off with the stitching. The last thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the 2 snaps in the corner, but we're gonna do that right at the very end. Done. Still got to do the edges here, but I want to set these rivets now before I get too carried away. So this here is the first one that I've done. So I don't really have all the answers for it. Typically when I make something, whether it's a bag or a purse or anything, the first one is typically a little bit rough. I haven't refined the process yet. That's kind of what you're seeing here. I haven't figured out exactly the spacing for everything, so the best way to do that is actually stitch it all together, and then I can see where it's all going to need to line up. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find something. Just gonna use a scrap piece of leather that I can fit down in the end there. Well, there we go. Thank you very much for following along. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you got any video ideas, feel free. Send them over and we'll do what we can to get them done. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, and yeah, see y'all on the next one.